For thousands of years, nearly every civilization on Earth has told stories of giants. Not just large people, not just tall warriors, but beings that towered over humans like walking monuments. From North America to Europe. From the Middle East to South America. From the islands of the Pacific to the mountains of Asia. Stories describe massive skeletons, buried cities sized for enormous inhabitants, and weapons too heavy for normal humans to lift. Then, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, reports of giant human bones being discovered began appearing in newspapers across the world. When suddenly, they stopped. Not only did they stop being reported, it is also rumored that powerful institutions secretly removed the evidence. Why? Is there something they don't want us to see? Tonight, we dive into the world of global giants, bones, legends, and the world's oldest conspiracy. Before we even talk about bones, we need to talk about something stranger. Why do so many unrelated cultures describe giants? There have been common patterns across cultures claiming the existence of giants before or living alongside humans. Giants were often described as violent or chaotic and, according to most, were wiped out by catastrophe, war, or divine punishment. They have been tied to ancient advanced civilizations from all over the world. In North America, Native American tribes told stories of red-haired giants, cannibal giants, and giant tribes wiped out by earlier peoples. In the Middle East, ancient texts describe giant warrior clans and giant kings. In Europe, Celtic and Norse mythology describe giant races older than humans. And in South America, some legends describe giant visitors arriving after floods or sky events. Now, mythology alone doesn't prove anything. But it sets the stage for why later discoveries grabbed attention. In the 1800s, as settlers expanded west, thousands of burial mounds were excavated across the United States. Many newspaper reports claimed skeletons between 7 and 12 feet tall were discovered. Common details included double rows of teeth, massive skulls, and armor or copper tools buried with them. Some reports came from amateur archaeologists, some from local historical societies, some even claimed involvement from early museum collectors. Why this is controversial? Modern archaeology says most mound builder skeletons were normal human size, but believers say records were lost, specimens were reclassified or quietly removed. This is where the Smithsonian conspiracy theory enters the story. Conspiracy theories claim the Smithsonian collected giant remains in the early 1900s, and destroyed or hid them. Many speculate that their reason for doing this was to protect established historical timelines, while other supporters point to missing artifacts from early digs, and old newspaper reports with no surviving bones. Lawsuits were filed, claiming evidence destruction, but mainstream historians tied to the Smithsonian countered, stating, sensational journalism was common in the 1800s, and that measurements were often exaggerated. The institution would go on to say and that many of the finds were misidentified animal bones. Is this the truth? No confirmed giant skeletons exist in museum collections today, despite the fact that evidence suggests otherwise. But the mystery of missing artifacts as well as supposed photos, keeps the theory alive. Europe has centuries of giant legends spanning from the cosmic Jotnar of Norse mythology, who existed before the gods, to the foolish, man-eating ogres of British folklore often outwitted by human heroes. Medieval chronicles often described them as giant kings, or giant warrior clans, complete with giant tombs. Some oversized skeletons found historically, were later explained as gigantism, a real medical condition causing extreme height. Others also claimed that fossil misidentification played a big role, where large animal bones were mistaken for humans. Still, ancient castles, stone circles, and massive ruins fueled legends that giants once built them. Middle Eastern lore and archaeology feature numerous references to ancient giants, including biblical accounts of the Nephilim, Anakim, and Rephaim. These ancient texts describe giant tribes defeated by early civilizations. However, in 2002, a U.S. Special Forces unit was said to have encountered, and killed, a massive humanoid creature in the remote mountains of Kandahar, Afghanistan. Oddly, no official U.S. Department of Defense or Department of the Army documentation supports the existence of such an encounter. No personnel records, mission logs, casualty reports, or photographs have surfaced, leaving many to speculate a coordinated cover-up. According to the rumors, it stood over 12 feet tall, with a shock of red hair, a long beard, 6 fingers on each hand, and 2 full sets of teeth. Some researchers have also claimed oversized skeletons were found during early excavations in the 1900s, but supposedly most evidence was either poorly documented, lost to time, or exists only in old newspapers or second-hand reports. Spanish explorers wrote about giant tribes in South America. Some indigenous stories describe massive human-like beings, known as the Patagonian giants. The legend of Patagonian giants originates from the 1520s accounts by Ferdinand Magellan and his crew, who reported encountering exceptionally tall natives, often described as 8 to 12 feet in height, in southern South America, specifically in the region now known as Patagonia. It is written that these civilizations were destroyed by floods or sky disasters, but again, no verified giant skeletons remain today. Or do they? Science offers several grounded explanations, such as gigantism. Gigantism is a rare, usually non-cancerous pituitary gland disorder, causing excessive growth hormone production in children, leading to extreme height, large hands and feet, and delayed puberty. It differs from adult-onset acromegaly, as it occurs before growth plates fuse. Treatment often involves tumor removal, medication, or radiation. Another suggested explanation is newspaper sensationalism. Newspaper sensationalism is a journalistic tactic that exaggerates or manipulates news stories to trigger intense emotional reactions like shock, fear, or excitement, often prioritizing audience attention over accuracy. Some scientists say fossil confusion is to blame. Fossil confusion arises from incomplete remains, poor preservation, and misinterpretation. This theory proposes that the large bones that were discovered were animal bones that have been mistaken for human remains. Others claim that cultural myth evolution is the answer. Cultural myths evolve much like biological species, changing over thousands of years as they are passed down through generations, with core themes adapting to new social contexts while older elements are lost. Driven by oral tradition, migration, and later, mass media, these narratives reflect a culture's shifting fears, values, and existential questions. So, were there once giants walking the earth? Science says no evidence exists. But the question that keeps people looking isn't just about bones. It's about patterns. Why do civilizations separated by oceans all tell similar stories? Why do legends describe giants as part of humanity's earliest history? And why do so many early discoveries vanish into missing archives? Maybe the answer is simple. Maybe it's lost history. Maybe it's misunderstood science. Or maybe it's something we haven't fully uncovered yet. Because history isn't just what survives. It's also what disappears.